Thanks for your company. We are coming to you live from our studios in Kukumlimli, also streaming live on DSTV channel 421, Go TV channel 114 and around the world at myjoyonline.com. The details now. Whilst the December 7 general election was largely peaceful, it also represents the darkest moment for some families this year. In all, 5 people lost their lives in the course of the polls. This morning, we take you to the Ododo-Diodio constituency here in Accra, one of the traditional electoral hotspots. JoyNews Desk, who covered that constituency during the election, went back there and brings us the story of a family of 7 that lost its breadwinner.
The Ododo-Diodio constituency is one of the major flashpoints in the capital, with over 58 hotspots and violent clashes ahead of the 2020 polls. It was the expectation of security analysts that security will be beefed up to avert or control violence. Unfortunately, 2 people died before the final declaration of results.
So we're here at Abola, a community in the Ododo-Diodio constituency. As you can see behind me there, that is a banner of one of them, a young man, 36 years old, Emmanuel Dompre, who lost his life. From what we understand, he was an agent for the opposition NDC and lost his life in the process. We'll speak to people who were with him in this last moment. They will tell us exactly what happened.
I'm George Sampa.
Okay, and you were with him when the incident happened?
Right, I'm with him right there.
Okay, tell us, so what exactly happened?
But we were there as soon as the polls ended. So the MPP were jubilating. They said they found the parliamentary seat over in Ododo-Diodio. So we were all there at the hotel when they sent up. So they started jubilating and started doing their jama.
And this is the hotel where the shooting happened?
Model Hotel, okay, at Koloko. Okay. So we were there and on the MPP jama. They come along with bottles, plastic, stones, and crates, mineral crates. So we were there with the Emmanuel Dompre, our brother, who was just demise. So we run away, but we don't know where our brother passed before he met his untimely death.
What kind of person was he?
Oh, he was a cool guy. Was a cool, soft boy.
And what was he doing for a living?
Oh, he worked at post office.
I meet 2 of his brothers. Atakwa tells me how he received the news.
Embassy atwambla tun edo oni ka o bra imba ni kele bia ni no ni atwale to amiko ba nimba mbateje nimba ngeshina angeshina ko dabi ba feni maya kolebu e bonu ya o lele atwale to edo.
So he is a brother and he's telling me that he's the eldest of them. There are 7 brothers, and he heard the news when he went to Choko. He received a phone call and was told that the brother had been shot. When he came home, he didn't find anybody home, so he followed to the hospital, which is the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, and that was where the death of his brother was confirmed.
The brothers tell me the family is deeply affected by the death of Emmanuel Dompre. They will miss him.
Ake enye ni ilakun yile ake enye ni choko etwale si enye na de san twale tun le gbo wo ke inu egban na wa widi poke na aka tu pokan ikopo egban na ke na nyemi ake atwale tu egbo oku efe yoyo oku efe mi sha me ake obra nu pa ni ebe wale je ebe wale ke ebe wale na egbo e no le oku efe mi po asha go me ni lani ebe ni egbo se nye na ninu Trukano na twale tu ni do no wo fin woni no komi eto ejakeleji wo yin no kamo leji wo mami leji wo papa wo mami do leji le fie no ha o wo go yin fun wo papa no sile no ji wo papa no woni no komi ne ke fin eto.
And he tells me that they are very much affected by his death because he is the breadwinner for the family. He does everything for the family. He's the firstborn, and they lost their mother many years ago, and so he is the one who takes care of the family.
Emmanuel left behind a wife and a daughter who is only 2 years. Ernest Menu's report for JoyNews.
Now, the Ejura-Setra-Dumasi constituency in the Ashanti region was classified among key flashpoints in the run-up to the December 7 elections. Unlike previous elections, the area recorded peaceful polling process. Residents are excited at what appears to be a new phase of politics and tolerance spearheaded by the youth, political parties and opinion leaders in the area. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin visited the town and filed this report.
Even before the December 7th election, some skirmishes were recorded in the Ejura-Setra-Dumasi constituency. The Member of Parliament for the area, Bawa Brema Mohammed, was attacked by some unidentified persons, raising concerns about the safety of ordinary people. Traditional leaders joined hands with the youth, political parties and other interest groups to campaign for peace in the electioneering. The youth were mobilized to move from door to door, information centers and community-based radio stations to campaign for peace. This seems to have paid off. Residents are excited of violence-free election.
Best of my knowledge, I can attest to the fact that this is the first time I would say we have witnessed a very violent-free election in our constituency. And I think the credit goes to Ejura for peaceful election and our leaders for adhering to our cry.
Excited, we feel happy, and it went smoothly without any violence and we are very happy with that. Okay, first of all, since our leaders in the Ejura-Setra-Dumasi are very responsible people, always they encourage the youth to stay away from violence and the rest. But hopefully, the way we ended this one successfully, I know heading we do it as we needed it to.
This year's election has been calm in Ejura. All the parties spoke to their supporters to be calm, and they were able to maintain peace.
The incumbent Member of Parliament, Bawa Mohammed, retained the seat for the opposition NDC. According to the residents, the professionalisms exhibited by political parties led to the town's first peaceful election in many years.
And therefore, going forward, I think the best thing we can do to sustain this peaceful election we had is to have a lot of education. We have to educate our constituents on how to, have a peaceful election even after the declaration of the results.
We should all be united and uphold the spirit of love and unity, and there would not be violence. But if there is disunity and misunderstanding, it will lead to violence again.
They want the peaceful atmosphere to reign to help in rebuilding the once beautiful and united agricultural town in the Ashanti region. A report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
And this is your election headquarters, and we continue to bring you election-related news. Now, the elections are over, apart from the fact that the NDC is still contesting some of the results. Some successful candidates have been sharing their experience with JoyNews. For a good number of them, 2020 has been tough, and there was some fierce contest for them. That's the story of the Member of Parliament elect for the Banda constituency in the Bono region, Ahmed Ibrahim, who says this year's general election has been the most difficult for him because his opponent got support from the entire government machinery to compete with him. He spoke to JoyNews' Nesta Kafuya Jama at Banda Ahinkro in the Bono region after he emerged victorious as MP-elect.
Ahmed Ibrahim says several forces fought against him for the Banda seat this year.
I was the only constituency in the region being held by the opposition, and I hold a strategic position in parliament. So all forces came against me. You can imagine a government who left even his strongholds and was constructing your road. So, I will use this road to unseat the incumbent MP. So even the government left the major roads in his own strongholds and has lost those areas and was constructing the orphan one so that he will win this one to go and be added. That was the government strategy. And I'm coming from opposition. Don't forget, they said if they won Banda and lost even 5 seats in the Bono region, they like it. And that was their formula. And Buidan is also here. That was also greatly used against me. Stars were campaigning, programs were being organized against me, monies were being given to my opponents to campaign against me. And being from opposition, I could not even give 50 Ghana, 20 Ghana, or 100 Ghana. So if you look at the votes in Banda, the strategy of my opponents and the government was that they will use resources to take it from me. They brought about 100 motorbikes. I couldn't afford to buy even one. They brought about 200 sewing machines. I could buy only about 70 or so. Every household was given 1 cloth, 2 million, 1 cloth, 2 million, 1 cloth, 2 million. People took the money and went and voted against them.
According to Ahmed Ibrahim, even though his contender committed more resources to the election, the people rejected him.
There were a lot of skirt and blouses. People didn't like my opponent, but he was being imposed with resources on them. That is why if you look at even the presidential, we lost the presidential by slim margin. Yet still, by the grace of God, I was able to win the parliamentary. That's why I wouldn't want to be ungrateful. This was the only major road in the constituency. And the contractor was working in the communities and let even the other portions or sections of the road. Oh, let me go to the community and be working, to be seen to be working. Oh, we'll use this one. So everyone who can also look at the road. The president as a sitting president has been here twice. The vice president as a vice president has been here twice. The second lady, Samira Baumia, has been here twice. Osafumafo, the senior minister, has been here. So it's like all their major forces, John Boyd, all their forces were here. But I'm only a little fish. I had to manage to come with General Mosquito and Abambagwe. They've helped to make sure that I have won. But the good news is that the integrity and the credibility inculcated in the normal or ordinary Banda citizen.
Should this be the last time the Banda constituency is represented by Ahmed Ibrahim in parliament?
I don't enjoy power, and I'm not the power drunk type of politician. So I will go and consult with my people. What is your take? If you think enough for me, then I exit. If you think I should still represent your interest, then I continue.
Nestor Kafui Ajuma's report for JoyNews.
On the elections, the government must show leadership by going after perpetrators of violence. This, according to the executive director of the West African Network for Peace Building, WANEP, will give assurance to feuding parties. In a post-election analysis on the AM show with Mama Viowusu Abuaje, Dr. Chukwemeka Eze said government's credibility hinges on its ability to decisively deal with people involved in violence. He's also asking aggrieved politicians to seek redress at the court to stem the brewing tension.
It is extremely important. It also adds or removes credibility in the administration. It is important to give, because it gives confidence to the electorate and the citizens that impunity cannot be allowed to thrive, and that if you kill under any guise and without due process, then you have to answer for it. Whether it is the security agents or citizens killing one another, I think it's important to find the cure and also find redress in a court of law and bring those who are the perpetrators to book, and also reassure not just the victim's family, but also other citizens that we don't live in Banana Republic where you can do anything and get away with it. It is very important.
There are many calling on the NDC to seek redress in court. But indeed, if you speak to the NDC, they would also tell you that the protests, the many ways that they are also seeking to express their disappointment with the results of the 2020 elections are also legitimate. I mean, it's their legal rights. You can protest. You can go in a march like they've been doing. And so the court is not the only place where they can absolutely resolve their issues. As a security person, and as you've been analyzing a lot of security matters, particularly this one linked with elections directly, what do you make of the fact that what they're doing is also legitimately right?
I think it's important to, first of all, acknowledge that it is within the rights of NDC to have peaceful protests. It is also important to acknowledge that when they feel that they are hurt, they need to be allowed to express themselves in the most peaceful manner that they can. However, it is also important that NDC also begin to appreciate what is at stake at the moment. Those protests within the context of a global pandemic, within the context of already charged environment, how do they resolve the issues at hand? Or will they need to sit down and reflect whether the protests at the end of the day will yield the results that they seek for and also enthrone peace in the country they love so much and actually wanted to govern. So that's a way to balance it, but to obviously acknowledge that it is within their rights to express themselves in a manner that they feel they will be heard if they feel that they have not been fairly treated in an election. It is within their rights.
What's been the experience on the continent? Can we still follow through with peaceful marches and protests in resolving this matter?
Well, again, at the end of the day, because I'm a professional mediator, at the end of the day, I'll go for sitting around the table. And also to acknowledge that people should also appreciate that within the continuum of dispute resolution mechanisms, that the court system is part of it.
We'll be bringing you more in elections as some 16 CSOs have responded to matters arising after the elections. But before that, there's rapid motorization in Ghana leading to increase in dangerous driving and road crashes. Human factors seem to be compounding road crash problem here in Ghana. Indiscipline among road users, especially drivers, has been identified as the main contributory factor to the increase in road traffic crashes. The Yuletide is approaching. What can be done to reduce the incidence of drivers involved in dangerous driving? Director of Planning and Programs at the National Road Safety Authority, Mr. Daniel Adonting, joins us here for some discussion and education as we prepare for Christmas. Thank you very much for your time here this morning. It's a pleasure to have you on the program. First off, let's start from the basic. David says, sorry for that error. Let's start from the basics. What, according to the law, constitutes dangerous driving?
Thank you very much, and good morning to all our cherished viewers and listeners. Again, as you said, we are closer to the Yuletide. Christmas is coming. We have just come out of elections, and we have all seen how we fared as a nation. Considering, if you look at the dailies, we have put up statistics suggesting the performance of road safety on our roads in terms of the number of deaths, injuries, the crashes themselves. We have put up 7 to 10. The voting day to the 10th of December, we recorded 44 deaths, 155 crashes, and then 157 injuries. Compared to the same period, 2016, you've seen that the number of deaths remains the same. The injuries, we have made some savings because 2016 we recorded 169 injuries, and so about 7% savings. The number of crashes have increased by 55%. Now, the circumstances that led to these crashes have also been explained. It is the same story we always talk about, the indiscipline on the part of motorists, particularly our drivers. This time around, people had to do things beyond what we expected them to do. For example, during the day of voting and after the voting, when the presidential elections, the winner was announced, the parliamentary candidates, those who won, were also announced. People were excited. They moved into the streets and did what is unexpected. Drink driving beyond speed limits, total disrespect to the law, and so led to some of the crashes and the deaths that we are recording. I think that's how we're moving into the Christmas festivities. The same excitement will be with people. They are still enjoying themselves, especially those who have won the elections. And as they do that, they disregard the rules and regulations that govern the road. They'll be driving under the influence of alcohol and drugs, speeding beyond limits, overtaking anywhere without due care to other road users. And then those who sit on motorbikes will continue to do what they're doing. We saw them not wearing helmets and then riding anyhow. They maneuvering their way through the streets and through traffic. They don't stop at intersections when it is red and so on. I think these are signs that we recorded. We identified that we're holding on to our Arrive Alive campaign to intensify our education program, which we call Arrive Alive. We are communicating to the general populace that the elections is over, yes, indeed, but we are moving into Christmas, which is itself another public season event that people are going to move around to their various destinations, to their hometowns. Drivers are going to take advantage, especially the commercial vehicle ones, who, because some of them think they have lost a lot of resources because of the pandemic, it has come to a time that they want to harvest their cocoa, which it is a wrong notion. So we are intensifying education through the media. We are moving from lorry station to lorry station, together with our media partners, including the multimedia. We are also moving from church to church, from schools to school. Some of the schools are in session, so we are into schools. We are also moving from toll booth to toll booth. Wherever we can have the opportunity to engage human beings, the public, we are doing that. But the responsibility will not lie on us alone. We are expecting our colleagues from the police, the MTTD, to also move out now. I think we had limited number of them on the streets because of the elections. I don't know for what reason, but getting into Christmas is a different ball game altogether. Everybody must be involved. So we are asking the police also to move out there, spread themselves across the strategic areas on the highways, especially, and then they also enforce the laws and the regulations. But I can assure you that the National Road Safety Authority, we are not relenting on our oars at all. We are moving everywhere we can find any group of persons, individuals, in whichever capacity that we find them, as drivers, as passengers, as pedestrians, as motorcyclists or cyclists. We are engaging them. We are talking to them so that they can protect their own lives first. The responsibility of getting through this Christmas without any blemish, injured, death, or damage to your property lies with you as an individual. And then we come in to advise and give you the guidelines, and then the police will come and enforce the law. But I think that responsibility of ensuring discipline and being responsible is that of yourself as an individual, as a vehicle owner, and as a road user.
To say you've spoken at length about education and all, and called on the police to also come in and do their job. But since you were, well, for the lack of a better expression, graduated from a commission to an authority, your work goes beyond giving advice, right? So when you come to the Road Traffic Act, it lists out what dangerous driving is, gives us the details of that, and also profess sanctions. Why don't we see a lot of that, at least? That may be deterrent.
Okay, good. I think that brings it back to the question of dangerous driving. I think the law has specified very clearly that any act on the part of the road user, especially the driver who sits behind the steering wheel, any act that we constitute as risky, dangerous, anything that can bring about the life the loss of life or damage to property or injury to the human body is constitute what we call dangerous driving. It means that if I sit behind the steering wheel and if I act in a manner that can kill or that can constitute death to an individual, damage to a property, or injury to a body, then we say dangerous.
I am asking, sorry to cut in. I'm asking about punishment.
Yes,
do
yeah,
we
I'm coming
see?
there.
Do we see? I mean, let's just because there's quite a lot of ground to cover. So we've spoken about dangerous driving. Let's talk about the law now. Do we have people facing the full rigors of the law when they are caught involved in dangerous driving?
Fantastic. The law specifies very clearly the sanctions and the penalty regime. Let me use a typical case of this particular driver who, as a result of dangerous driving, caused the death of 35 persons at Dumpuasi the early part of this year. That driver has been sentenced to imprisonment for 5 years. He has been banned for driving a commercial vehicle for the rest of his life. Now, this is a typical case of what can happen to a particular driver if you are found in an act that constitutes danger or dangerous driving or careless driving on our road. So
I appreciate the example. I appreciate the example, Mr. Daunting, but we've seen a lot of road crashes this year, and this is an example you're giving. Do you think we need to up our game when it comes to punishing people and so that it doesn't appear, oh, this is just one out of many, and so people think they can get away with recklessness on the road?
In fact, there have been quite a number of dangerous driving-related crashes and deaths that somehow the law courts have not treated it the way we have seen this particular one. There have been series of deaths in the past that we wish it went the same way. So it is an opportunity for us to hammer on the fact that the law court must also be up and doing. I agree with you that we have to up our game. Apart from that, we as an authority, coming from a commission, there are so many things we can do to support these acts of dangerous driving and so on. And this time round, we will not target the individual drivers. It is up to the police and the law courts to handle the issue of the individual driving dangerously and so on. But whilst I'm saying so, the National Road Safety Authority is now targeting the institutions. For example, that particular driver comes from a GPRTU as an organization. And so what do we do to the GPRTU in particular as an institution? He belongs to an institution. We go in there and investigate what was the contribution from that institution GPRTU. What are the mechanisms in place? The mechanisms as relating to the circumstances that led to the crash. In terms of long distance driving, in terms of the vehicle that they use to operate, in terms of their operational systems, the training of the driver, the health-related issues about the driver, the standards that they operate within. If all these things are not in compliance with our regulations and laws, as far as the National Road Safety Authority is concerned, that is where we come in to sanction that particular institution.
Okay.
We are going to operate like the aviation, where a whole industry like GPRTU, Protua, or any of the transport operators can be sanctioned. We can revoke their license for allowing a driver who is not qualified or who causes such kind of deaths, and we ground the operations for a period of time or even forever. That is where we are going into it very soon. Starting, yes. So that is how far we can go as far as the authorities.
Roads without proper markings, no street lights. When I was coming to work at dawn, right from the 37 area through to Chado, through to the Cantonment Post Office, all the way to the Flagstaff House, Christ the King area, absolutely no functioning street lights. There are no road markings on a lot of roads here in Ghana, potholes in the roads. With all these mentioned, don't you think it is unfair to put majority of the burden on the driver? Because what happens, and let me come in the case of no street lights, when you have a dual road or sometimes single lane, oncoming vehicles put on their lights. They put on their headlights, to the full. They blast their lights, and it blinds drivers on the other lanes. And this can be quite distracting. Aren't we putting too much blame on drivers when we know that the roads and other things that are supposed to make it more trouble do not function properly?
I agree with you, my sister. That is why we have called for the past 10 years the re-establishment and transformation of the National Road Safety Commission to an authority. The new mandate given to us now is that now we can, beyond education, regulate that road safety space. What it means is that we can now bring all the players in the space, in the industry, to book when they fail to perform. You have cited a typical example of the street lights. It is true. It is somebody's responsibility to ensure that our roads have these street lights functioning. And if it is not there, it means somebody is not doing his or her work. A particular institution.
Well, too bad we lost Mr. Donting there. I was just about to find out from him. All right, great to have you, Mr. Donting. So you were talking about those responsible for, example, making sure the road lights are, street lights, I beg your pardon, are working. Yes. The roads are well marked. So how do you come in as the Road Safety Authority? Because we as citizens know the institutions that work, but you have the power to question those institutions and even to sanction some of them. So what are you doing about it?
Fantastic. So under the new dispensation, to be honest with you, all these are issues that we are going to deal with under the Authority Act. Now, the Ghana Highway Authority, Department of Urban Roads and Feeder Roads, they're supposed to mark the roads. The roads must be marked. It must be signed. And then the street lights and the signalizing and all that. Now, what we are doing currently is that we are our ally that will back us to sanction them. It's not ready yet. We were given up to the end of this year to present the LI to Parliament, for Parliament to pass it, and then we can act on the LI to then effect our sanctioning mechanisms. I can assure you that the LI has been prepared. Had it not been these elections, I'm sure it would have been in Parliament for them to pass it now. Let us say that we have used this year to develop the LI. Now, entering next year, the LI passed by Parliament is now going to function. Function means that we can start issuing out the sanctioning mechanism, testing it at law courts, so that institutions that are required and responsible by law to put in certain features and certain infrastructure mechanisms and so to support our education will now be brought to book if they fail to. So for now, I agree with you. We haven't been able to sanction yet. But entering next year, God willing, with the LI pass, which will back us when it becomes necessary for us to apply, we will apply to the brim. And there will not be any excuses. A pothole must be patched within a certain limit of time. Street lights must function. Road line markings must be put in place. Signage must be put in place. We're not going to put the blame only on the driver any longer. Standards that we have developed and standards that are supposed to operate within the road space to protect the human life and property would have to apply. Otherwise, we will go for the sanctions. And this is where you're going to see the authority now up and doing, identify the problem, trace it to the responsible agency, ask them to act within a certain space of time, failure of which then the sanction mechanism will start applying. That is where I believe we're going to see real safety on the ground, which we call agroniform. And I can trust me, next year is going to be a different thing altogether.
We wait to see, because this involves lives, and the more we delay, I'm sure you know better than I do, because you have the statistics, and we know that the more we delay, the more lives we put at risk. As you leave, I'll just give you the opportunity in 1 minute to share with us what we can do on the roads, even as we get ready to celebrate Christmas, and so we don't have any casualties.
Fantastic. God willing, we have gone through the elections. We know what has happened. I think that the messages and the effort have yielded some results, because everybody's expectation was that we're going to go beyond the 44 deaths as recorded in 2016. Well, we have maintained it. It is not a good story to tell about anyway, but it is still some achievement. We didn't go beyond the 44 recorded in 2016. But we are entering the Christmas festivities and the New Year. So another responsibility again on all of us as a nation. Now, the National Road Safety Authority, whether sanctioning mechanisms or not, it will not bring any magic in terms of or a miracle. The responsibility of ensuring safety is still on us as individuals and as groups. So I want to take advantage of this opportunity to hammer on our campaign message, which we said, arrive alive. Any particular person, individual, if you move from your home to whatever destination, your target must be arriving alive. But we don't just arrive. We act in a manner that we will be responsible and then we will be disciplined. If you're a driver, this is not the time to say it is your cocoa season. No, that adage is gone. The fact that you didn't make the money, the kind of money you need from January to November because of pandemic, it's not that December you come and make all the money. Please, it is time rather to demonstrate to Ghana. I'm a Ghanaian. I must protect my life and the lives of my other friend, brother or sister. I am saying that don't let us drink and drive. The excitement should be over. Don't let us overspeed. The kind of speed we see on our streets by drivers or motorists, it's not acceptable. Let us be within the speed limits. 90 kilometers per hour on the highway, 100 kilometers per hour on the motorway. When you get to town or settlement, then you go below 50 kilometers per hour or below. Drinking, driving is out of the equation. Wherever we are tired, let us rest 30 minutes and continue the driving. I am saying that transport operators, if it is a long distance or for a distance that a destination that will go beyond 4 hours or 10 hours or 8 hours, break the drive. Let two drivers take that responsibility. One will drive 4 hours and the next will also drive 4 hours. I am saying that this is the time for us as pedestrians walking on the streets to be alert and to be careful. Let us cross the road at where it is zebra crossing, really marked, or where we have footbridges. When we are sitting on motorcycles, as riders or pillion riders, wear your helmet and ensure that you go by the rules of the game on the road. If you're a passenger, don't just do the sign of cross and sleep.
All right.
But your seat belt and then watch the driver. If you find any misbehavior on the part of his driving, call 112. 112. It will come to us, and then we will alert the police to follow up and make sure that the law is operating.
That's a great one, Mr. Adonting. We'll have to leave it here. Thank you so much for your time. The number is 112 to call. So remember, if you're in a vehicle and you're prompting the driver and he doesn't seem to heed, just call 112 and the police will be informed. While we talk about roads, let me take you to the Ashanti region capital, Kumasi, where suburbs like Abuabo and Angloga have received some facelift on the roads in those areas. Let's take you there now.
Has been left unattended. Portions of the road keep deteriorating, posing a threat to road users. Motorists are compelled to swerve a deep pothole at Anloga Junction to have a smooth ride. Drivers and pedestrians are unhappy with the state of the road.
Whenever the traffic light turns green and drivers move, they all try to avoid the pothole, and that is likely to cause a crash. We expect that it will be fixed as soon as possible because it does not help. There were a lot of car crashes on this road. The other lane on the Alonga Junction to Tech is very bad. The contractors fixed only one lane of the road while the other lies unattended. Now that the government has won 4 more years, we ask that they continue with the road construction.
Sister baby wanam ehunuma na me nkwa nke baby auto me otokwan ma ka afa ne so nti esra ban ne say wanya no 4 years aka ho yes na na do say o mebo na poto se wo ho die ɛnyɛ sɛ ɔbɛba ha nko a na ɛsɛ osiesie kwan da bi.
Motorists are hoping the road will be fixed to save lives and give meaning to the government year of roads mantra. Emmanuel Osei reporting.
Away from the roads, the police has just released a statement on public order. I'll bring you the details of that shortly here. And it's dated 15th December 2020 and titled Adherence to Public Order Law. The police administration notes with concern recent disregard for laws governing public assembly in Ghana, resulting in damage to both state and private properties. It is reiterated that such assembly, including demonstrations, fall directly under the Public Order Act 1994 Act 491. The Public Order Act places an obligation on persons who desire to hold demonstrations or special events to give notice to the police of such intention in a period of not less than 5 days before the date of the event. It also obliges participants to obey the directions of police officers, safeguarding the proper movement of other persons and vehicles and generally maintaining order. It continues to say the police administration therefore calls on organizers and participants of such events to give due regard to the laws of the country. It also wishes to remind the public that failure to notify the police of any special event amounts to an offense which can lead to various penalties, including imprisonment. Also, if any crimes are committed in the course of such unlawful demonstrations, all participants are jointly and severally responsible for the crimes. The police administration, however, assures the general public that measures have been put in place to contain the unlawful demonstrations, while regretting the inconveniences created to the public by the closure of some roads and facilities. It assures that such actions are necessary for the protection of lives and property. And this is signed by the Director of Public Affairs, Superintendent Sheila Abeye-Bachman. Let's listen to her.
This council is looking for peace. Christian
with concern the disregard for the Public Order Act when people want to go on procession or demonstration or such special events. And so we are calling on organizers and participants of demonstrations and such special events to give due regard to the Public Order Act, which requires that they give notice to police at least 5 days before holding the event. And we want to remind them that failure to do so amounts to an offense which can lead to various penalties, including imprisonment. Also, if any crimes are committed in the course of such unlawful demonstrations, all participants are jointly responsible for the crimes. But as we remind them, we also want to assure the public that measures have been put in place to contain such unlawful demonstrations. We have had to close some roads and do diversions and impress on some facilities to close for the safety of human lives and properties. We regret such actions, but we ask the public to bear with us because all these measures are for the protection of lives and property and for our general safety.
This is News Desk with me, Bernice Abubedu Lanza. Thank you so much for staying through. And earlier in the show, we brought you that report from Odododio, where a family of 7 lost its breadwinner through election violence. But coming up shortly in business, pension assets under management of the National Pensions Regulatory Authority hit 23 billion cedis, a significant growth despite the impact of COVID-19. We've got details in a moment.
Hello, welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Pension assets under the National Pensions Regulatory Authority have hit 23 billion cedis. Despite the growth, Chief Executive of the authority has described the sector as being stable. Let's hear from him.
We have, in the sense that we expected some investment returns to actually not meet the expected target. But of course, that fear was from the very early onset of COVID-19. But by the end of the second quarter, we had been able to bounce back, and I would say investments have not been affected as it was initially feared. So far, we have met a good number of our targets. But of course, it would have been better without COVID-19. Beginning of the COVID restrictions and onset, the government introduced an income tax amendment act, which allowed people who had made investments in Provident Fund to be able to redeem their pensions. Even though they were supposed to have paid tax of 15% if they had not invested for 10 years or more, government was able to allow them to redeem their pensions without paying the 15% tax. So I think this is something that has been very good for the contributor. There has also been people who are in the informal sector who have been affected one way or the other by the COVID-19 to be able to redeem their group and personal pension contributions without paying any taxes. So I think in the sense of what government has been able to do, it has really alleviated the most feared, I would say, expectations that we all had. So I don't think pension has been affected as much as we all feared because of the interventions of government.
Now, businesses are being aired to make brand distinctiveness and technology their true marketing objective. According to the CEO of branding firm PhD Ghana, Bride Lajekbo, successful brand building has to transcend the marketing and selling of products or providing a service. Rather, it must focus on winning a position in the market based on a higher purpose that connects emotionally with consumers. He was speaking with Inshirado on The Big Conversation, a segment of Business Connect on Joy Prime.
There's a lot of technology at play right now. Sure. And there are ethical issues that are even coming up around how advertising is personalized and targeted, at people, because it's possible to do that with artificial intelligence at the back end. But if you even target somebody and it is not something that you do in an irritating manner, or you do in a more relevant way and more friendly tone. So there are robots, we call them chatbots, that are talking to us on the internet, within chatbots, or within, if you make a phone call, you can never be sure whether it's a human being that is responding to you, to that bank, or to that insurance company, and so on. And for the sake of safety, in these times, we found out these technologies have come in very handy. Mobile money technology, for example, is using a lot of artificial intelligence at the back end to power what goes on, to the extent that microloans, microinsurance is thriving because now we can know the people who pay back their loans on time, quietly. At the back end, as you pay your loan, the data is collected. The artificial intelligence is monitoring people.
And computing your credit scoring while all of this is happening.
Whether you are a market woman or a trotro driver or a shoe shine who took that loan, they know you paid on time or you didn't pay on time. They will give you another loan again. So there's a human benefit. And so what these brands, small brands have done and big brands have done is to put the human benefit at the front and let the technology hide behind, but not put the technology at the front to the disadvantage of the human being.
All right, that's it for business for now. Sports is up next.
This is News Desk. Welcome to the sports segment. George has taken his seat and is ready to fire.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, he's called the English fireman.
Yeah. I thought. Okay, well, I actually thought you were going to talk about Accra Hearts football.
No. You don't have the privilege of initiating that conversation.
All right, please.
Allow me to do it. So tell me what you have today.
Let me initiate my conversation.
Please do.
Please, my conversation is about the English Premier League tonight. We've got two games for you. Chelsea up against Wolverhampton Wanderers, and quite a number of you are looking forward to that game.
Wolves has struggled a bit this season.
Yeah,
considering their performance in the last season, you expect that at least they would have maintained some bit of fire from the previous season. But it appears they're really struggling to find their feet. I don't know what the problem is.
I'm so impressed. These days, I think I can allow Venice to do the sports. Just spot on, really. It's just that you don't know what kind of Chelsea is turning up as well. Chelsea have been pretty consistent, but sometimes you have a crazy weekend, you can have a crazy midweek. And so this will be an interesting game, a testing one, but we think Chelsea should find a way through. West Brom up against Manchester City in the other game as well. So I think something to look forward to in midweek, which is tight, which is looking good, and we see how it actually pans out. There's still loads of discussions. I'm sure you had an idea of what the Champions League draw was looking like, and we are talking about Chelsea, Atletico Madrid, and indeed talking again about Paris Saint-Germain versus Barcelona. Now you want to initiate your discussion?
That will be a big one. Okay, so for those of you who watched the show, I wasn't around yesterday. Mama V sat in for me beautifully. But I need to rub it in his face that Accra Hearts of Oak managed to disappoint him because he thought Dreams FC was going to be a tough one for them. And at the end of the first half, when Accra Hearts of Oak was leading by 1 goal, I said, let me hold on. I don't want to call George yet because 1 is such a slim margin. Anybody could, overturn that in a few seconds or minutes. Then came 2. Then came 2, and then 3. Thank you, Hearts of Oak, for doing that for me. At least I get to rub it in, in George's face.
It's okay, but
Hearts of Oak disappointed you.
To be fair, I predicted Hearts of Oak were going to win the league. As I sit here, I don't know how they're going to do it. I can only
George, you're sounding like a politician now. Don't let us talk about what you said generally. Let's talk about the specifics. You said Dreams FC was going to be a tough one.
Congratulations to Accra Hearts of Oak for winning against Dreams FC. We hope that you continue winning and you make my prediction come to pass that you win the Premier League.
Oh, no, I
still found the way back.
I still found the way back. Everything now. Let me put it this way: partisan politics creeping, because that's how we do it here in this country. Always find a way to defend yourself.
Yes, why not? You have to.
Well, but it's good. That Manchester game. Did it live up to expectation for you? The Manchester derby. Yeah, it wasn't so interesting.
I think it was a very boring draw.
Yeah.
Very boring draw, and I don't know what will change. Manchester United clearly need to find a way to go through it, but you have to even blame Man City for having this kind of draw because you expect them to take things up there and try and win if they can. They also cannot win. That's why this Premier League is going to be interesting with who gets to win in the end.
Definitely, and that's how we end the sports segment and the show. Thank you so much for your company. Don't forget, there's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. If you missed any part of the show, it will be uploaded live on our Facebook pages and on YouTube as well. I am Bernice Abubedu-Lansa from my entire team and myself. We wish you the very best of the rest of the day. Do take care and see you soon again, God willing, tomorrow.